I should have re-listened to the episode before this.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I'm just gonna wing it. If I need to fix anything afterwards, then I will.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Okay, everything's recorded.
That's a Helsing reference.
Oh. To be watched later.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got. I think it was. Was it in the morning, or was it at night, or in the afternoon?
I want to say like 10 a.m. or so.
It was after you met with the council.
It was after the morning. We had the discussion with everybody. After the nonsense from the council the day before, there was the night scene that Nymphis and Xylith woke up for.
I think that was after you went, though.
In the morning.
So I think this was in the afternoon after the council meeting. Because we ended
before the night thing.
We ended like early morning. The last session ended early morning after folks woke up.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, so you were summoned.
Yeah. That was after the main session with the council.
Right.
Yep. The one that went downhill.
Right. So you're noticed by the guards. The guards call you out. You depart, and you're informed that it's Nasure who wants to speak with you, not Ilenia, to start.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Taking some similar pathways that you did before to go up to the kind of where the council was before, but not the same spot. Maybe a little closer to where you first met Nasure when you got to Elfrost to begin with, the previous day. But they kind of escort you off to a side room. Also has a pretty ornate design, kind of like it's maybe another council chamber that's a little bit lower in the districts, or maybe some other kind of just office space.
A fancy meeting.
Yeah. Or a meeting room that's just kind of they kicked someone out and it's kind of like shoehorning it for this discussion. So you're escorted by a couple guards, and they alert Nasure that you're there, and they escort you into the room. And Nasure sees you and says, Belto, yes, thank you for taking some time. Please sit down.
Of course. How might I help you, sir?
I feel like we may have gotten off on the wrong foot yesterday, and wanted to clear the air of some, maybe any pretenses that we have between each other. I know I may come off as young and arrogant compared to the rest of the council members, and I know that you were brought in on by some other meetings that I'm kind of curious about, and we'll get into that a little bit. But I just wanted to put to rest any possible confusions or concerns that you may have with some of the things that happened during the council meeting, or some of the other things that are kind of happening around this rad shard thing. I know you've been instrumental in some of the information that we've shared among our research with the rad shard. I can't say I fully agree with the methods that some of my other council members are pursuing with this, but nonetheless, that is the route that we've chosen to go with, and I have been asked to cooperate in that effort, despite my own beliefs. So I wanted to help set the record straight that I'm not trying to do anything malicious with the group, but it does warrant its caution where caution is deserved. I'm sure you understand.
Absolutely. Security and the safety of the citizens of the area that you govern is of the utmost importance.
I'm glad you understand. We have a lot going on, I'm sure, as you've seen from the little bit of time you've spent here. But it's come to our concern of the party. I'm sure that you've as we some of us have definitely taken keen interest in the responses and reactions to some of your companions, and seeing some of your body language. I think you probably noticed some of ours around some of the different things that happened during that meeting.
I was learning not just about yourselves, but I was learning about my own party members as well in this instance.
Yes. It is of most of the council's opinion that these people are chasing after a fairy tale. It is still of the opinion of the council that this rat shard, although seems to be more prevalent in some of the more recent strangeness that's been happening both around the surrounding parts of Elfrost and in other parts of Radnarok. That's not something to be left unchecked, but it's still something that seems a little far-fetched to some of us. There are other folks in the council that disagree, and other higher-ups within Elfrost that stick to the older tales of times past. Nonetheless, it is a security concern, and we must treat it as such.
It is being viewed as more of a curiosity more than something to invest in.
Your party members, if I may still call them that, I'm not sure how closely you affiliate with them. They seem to be a little bit more of a pain or a nuisance from what we've gathered, but you are still...
Yes, it has been challenging,
as we can tell. However, I wanted to extend the opportunity, talking with the council. Your presence here is definitely welcome, and it's been brought forth with the appropriate credentials, where the rest of your party has dropped on our doorstep. And to my opposition, we granted an audience to the rest of your party. And I think some of the rest of the council members have seen that that may not have been the best choice. However, in the end, we all agreed that we would still entertain their request. And I think we got to see some true colors of your companions.
I believe so as well. A lot that I was unaware of came about during the meeting.
So with some of the research that we've shared with you about the Rad Shard, the strange occurrences that have been happening, some of the other outlying fortifications and other abnormalities, what do you take it of your party's, your associates' intent? Are they pure in their intent of seeking out their families and seeking out retribution, or do you think there are more sinister things at bay?
In regards to their intentions, as far as I was able to glean off of them, both from what they admitted to in the meeting as well as just any residual things I might have noticed along our journey, I believe those intentions that were mentioned are pure. I just personally fail to see the connection to how the Radshar could provide whatever it is that they are seeking in terms of information. It seems more like individual motivations more so than a collective for this potential item.
I see. And is there any concern that you have that your companions pursuing this would be of any danger to the kingdom or to any powers that reside in this continent?
As far as I was ever aware, I barely heard about the Red Shard, and like you mentioned, you believe it to be a fairy tale. I have no evidence to provide otherwise, other than the small curiosities and experimentation, and just the rumors of the lands.
I see.
In regards to if it even exists, it could just be something to occupy adventurers that has been spread, and the source of it has been forgotten. It could be real. I do not know myself.
That seems to be the consensus of, I think, most of the higher ups here at Elfrost. There are those who are a lot more believing of the Estarma as far as what she has foretold of some ancient powers past, and that this rat shard is something that we need to pay a lot more attention to. I'm sure you can see that believing in old fairy tales and uh, tales that don't have much foundations upon reality or fact can lead to disillusion and disarray, and it's something that most of the higher ups here in Elfrost do not want to see come to pass.
With what little I know of the magics of the land, and considering the various capabilities of various people out there, it's hard to determine what can be fact and fiction in a world such as this.
I'm glad you agree. I'm beginning to like you a little bit more, I think. I wasn't sure quite when you were arrived through the Feywild and were brought to us, but nonetheless, I think you would do us well. I have an offer for you. I know your party is looking to their next step of whatever this rad shard might be, and unfortunately, the associate that you were sent to go help out has passed beyond, and his research has been mostly lost to us. The scraps that were brought back is only bits and pieces, and unfortunately, there's not a lot that we can glean from most of what was brought back. There's some pieces, but our initial glances at it haven't really proven much so far. However, there are some other things that have been going on not too far from our doors. Have you heard of Elk's Point?
Yes. While we were on the road, there was a bounty board for someone that was wanted from that area that had last been seen in one of in the town that I was initially sent to, Hinkdale.
I see. Well, we would like to recruit you, more or less, to uh, be another kind of research assistant in a way. As you go along with your party, if there's any inklings of details that may be pertinent to this supposed rad shard or some powers that seem to be oddly descriptive or similar in nature to that of your companions, then we would like you to report back to us if you would be so inclined.
I would do my best in that endeavor to do so, so that if any more research could be found on it, is on the chance that in a land full of the magics that are out there, and it is real, perhaps, it would be good to make sure such power wasn't to fall into the wrong hands, so that our world may continue towards a peaceful existence.
I'm glad you're willing to help. He opens a drawer and pulls out 3 rolls of parchment along with a quill. And he says, anything you write on here, once you write it, you utter an incantation and it will be sent right back to us.
Oh, I believe I've heard of something like this. It fascinating. I will be very sparingly and strategic in my uses of this.
You can attach one tiny object to it. It could be the size of a gem or a stone or something that can fit in the palm of your hand, but nothing much more larger than that. You can write down or add to your inventory 3 messaging scrolls.
All right. Sending scrolls, pretty much.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. And he goes to explain that basically you write something down, and then after you utter the incantation, the scroll will disappear and be sent off. Email in the
All right.
Renaissance
Yep.
age.
Don't worry. Once I hit a cleric level, I think 3 or 4, I'll be able to send tweets.
We're getting modern, people.
Sending spells a hell of a trud, man.
Getting a bit
Anyways.
early. Yes. So, anything that you find would be most interesting to us for additional research and further looking into this. We'll see what. Yes. What?
For my understanding regarding the usage of these, will these go directly to you, or will they go to a bit more of a common area, just so I know whether to be semi-cautious in some of my wording when I am to send you a message?
These will come directly to me. I have a receiving spot for these scrolls, but I will be sharing them with the rest of the council unless you deem it necessary for me to keep any information close hold until anything else comes in further detail.
Of course, I would expect it to be shared information amidst the council at the very least.
Is there anything that you would like to ask? I know there wasn't much time for follow-up and after the incidents that happened during the meeting.
Indeed. I was rather curious, though, considering it was only a majority of the group that I had arrived with that was in that council chambers.
Yes.
Do you have any knowledge regarding the other two, Radzus and Parthenax?
Yes, the other companions that came through the gate with you. I do not know what happened to Radzus, but Parthenax seemed to be not as forthcoming about what his purpose was here and his reasons for staying. He seemed very closed off, and we gave him an option to leave or to stay with with you all and the rest of your companions, and he chose to be his memory altered of this place and not remembered of being at Elfrost and sent back to where he wanted to go.
That is quite the option.
Yes, it's very peculiar. It wasn't one that we were expecting. Radzus, I'm not sure what happened. He seemed to have kind of evaded some of our patrols shortly after arriving. As far as we know, he's no longer in Elfrost, but we are not too sure at the moment.
Curious. I shall keep an eye out and inform if I spot him within the city.
Please do. We don't like to have people go missing, especially if they're new.
It is a security concern.
Definitely is, and we appreciate that. You appreciate that. Yes. Anything else I can help you with before you head back?
I don't believe so. This was rather enlightening, and I appreciate your forthcoming with me.
I appreciate your willingness to help us. I know there's those that believe in the possibility of the Rad Shard and its powers, and that's something to at least take some serious consideration with what that might imply as far as the effects on the greater populace of the continent, the different powers that exist within the different fortifications and cities. Even if some of the strange rumors are true of altering reality as it exists, then it is something that we need to definitely keep track of.
A terrifying power.
Yes, as it seems to be some of the more fanatical entities that we've come across and people that have uttered its name. It seems to be Something of great power, although it hasn't really been solidified across different accounts. So its true purpose remains hidden, it seems. Whether its existence is real or not is something that we are looking to find out.
And is why the research is being looked into, but not heavily vested in.
Well, there are some more devoted to that cause than others. I put my time in where it's required and carry on my business with more important things to attend to.
And given your position, there are a great many things, I would presume.
Yes. Speaking of, I do have business to attend to. Is there anything else that we can help you with before you rejoin your party?
Above game, he had mentioned Elt's Point. I don't know if he went into details regarding what that mission
Right, yeah,
was.
I kind of sidetracked about the... Yeah.
No worries, because I just went,
Yep.
wait a minute, what did you say about Elt's Point? Because I have not been taking the notes I need to. I'm
Right,
going
right.
to be relying on the recording
It's
for that.
basically, there are some pieces of information that have kind of trickled in from other elves that have been more or less deployed there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons was like, okay, going there to collect some of that information so you could kind of look at some of it and send it back on one of the scrolls, or yeah.
Okay. So basically just collect what information has come up because of rumors of Radshard cropping up in that location.
Yeah. You're going to look for a shop called the Tainted Hoof.
All right.
That'll be one of the locations to gather information. And then you're going to look for a person called Cheris. And you should be at one of the local kind of dives.
Cheris.
Charis.
Charis. Cheris. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
So you get that note. That's very important.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So that should be. Yeah, that should be good.
Thank you for your time. I shall let you get back to your business, and I believe I'll be heading back to my companions. Then I presume I don't want to overstay anywhere I'm not allowed.
Yes, the guards will escort you back.
Very well. Thank you again, sir.
And thank you for for volunteering your services. It will mean more than you know.
And he'll just depart with that knowledge.
Surprised you didn't do any insight checks or anything during this whole exchange. But okay. As you're being escorted, another kind of younger elf comes by and asks the guards if he could escort you. That someone else has been asking for you, and the guards kind of look at each other for a minute, and they haven't been given orders to restrict you from going anywhere. They were just asked to show you back. So they're like, okay, sure. So they let you go and depart, and you follow this young elf. And you are soon met by Ilenia. You get by where she is. It's very decorative with vines and trees that seems very interwoven into this kind of open, maybe like dining room or living room type area, very open space. All the furniture is like basically grown out of trees or vines, very similar to her since she's a fey creature.
Yep.
It's like, oh, Belto, my favorite pupil, welcome back to Elfrost. It's been such a Such a pleasure. How's your time been so far?
It's been rather interesting. I'm not sure how much you heard regarding the events of the meeting of my associates and the council.
I tried to sneak into that meeting. I've been able to sneak into a few of them sometimes, and those guards were pesky this time around. So unfortunately, I did not get a chance to, I guess, be entertained by whatever transpired during the council meeting. Please enlighten me.
Entertained is quite the word to use, and not a bad one in this instance. It's unfortunate, it
I
seems.
see.
Uh,
Tea.
please.
She
I need something to calm me after
there's a
the
wooden like
events.
tea kettle, uh, and it's not like super hot water, but it's warm enough, and it's a very smooth, very flavorful tea.
Mm. For context of the situation, I was escorted by the younger elf. The guards are out of the picture, it seems. But
Mhm.
is there, in terms of who could be possibly within earshot to my visual knowledge, her, possibly the younger elf, anybody else?
Roll a perception check.
All right, first roll of this.
First roll of this thing.
Where's my tab? Perception. So that went through
18. Yep.
18.
Um, because of the open airness of where she is, like if there's
Mm-hmm.
someone close by, your voice could travel to some other
I heard
passerby
echo, but all
pyres.
right.
You don't see
Okay.
anyone directly close by, but you're aware that your voice could travel a little bit.
Understood. Thank
Mhm.
you. All right. So with that in mind, he will keep his voice rather lowered for conversing with
Okay.
her. He will detail a decent chunk of the meeting, especially how he has his doubts regarding Nazare, and that especially it both cements his suspicions as well as um, confuses him regarding the timing of this meeting that he just impromptu came from with Nazare. So he will leak that much to her as discreetly as possible.
Okay.
But in regards to the entertainment that occurred in the room, uh, there was a bit of an incident with one of the companions of the party attempting to cast a spell and did
Oh
not go
dear.
well. Unfortunately, I fear I may have inadvertently caused him to attempt that spell because I had conveyed to them, and then looking at her, he is going to use his telepathy with her. If because I don't remember if I established him doing that prior, but so she can hear his voice in her speaking telepathically to her, uh, because I was starting to have my suspicions.
She gives you a look and also talks back to you telepathically. Uh, what is it that you did that prompted your friend to cast a spell? Did the council not give any indication that spells were not allowed during the session? That's not something that is typically allowed in those kinds of things, and most people are very keen on not doing silly things like that.
Knowing that she could talk back to him because this is a first for him, he's just going to like just
The
give a
cool
slight
factor.
nod and be like,
I'm playing the cool
"We
factor.
can." Oh yeah, yeah. But
She's a
yeah, he's
fake
going to
creature.
attempt
She
to
has a
just
couple
keep.
tricks.
Yeah. Perhaps the message cantrip. Um,
To be determined.
he Yep, exactly. He'll basically like shift to doing the telepathic communication for the rest of this discussion, for the most part, just for security purposes, as well as to try to avoid her getting in potential trouble if someone were to overhear in the distance. Um, but I used this very gift of mine to crap. I'm actually forgetting exactly what I told Nymphus in the message. It kind of got overshadowed by him attempting it.
But you didn't use telepathy or you didn't use the message thing during the meeting.
I did it while there was that recess. The guards were still nearby, but I did it in the council chamber.
Okay.
That's what prompted him.
I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah, no worries. It kind of got overshadowed.
Yeah.
That's why I'm struggling to remember myself. Okay. But essentially, he's going to convey to her, like, I was using this talent of mine that, as far as I know, I've always had, for the telepathic one-way communication. And I guess it inspired him to attempt a spell, even though it had been made clear beforehand that spells were not really working, and he had attempted to cast one spell earlier, and it did not work. Somehow he made it actually work this time, and that's what prompted the fiasco.
I see. Clearly, your friends are not familiar with elves or cities like Elfrost, aren't they?
Higher arcane protections.
Yes. Seem quite foolish. Are these companions?
A lot of that at the time.
So she's gonna say this out loud to kind of.
Yep.
Why don't we go take a look? You came past through the veil of the Feywild. Not many do. Why don't we just kind of sit and gander at it? Let it speak to us. And she's gonna use that as kind of the cover of you all talking telepathically.
Yeah.
So you see a recliner grow out of vines and trees.
I love it.
And then she just kind of plants roots and kind of just almost like kind of floats there with you. So these companions of yours, do you plan on being with them for a while? Or are these just adventuring folk that you stumbled upon and were also making their way here? And you plan to depart?
That I am not 100% certain of at the moment. It feels like too much of a coincidence for my fate to have intertwined into theirs at the timing that it did.
I see. Have you been given any more visions since your departure from Elfrost?
Not the one.
I see. Well, then it yet may be decided whether or not your fates are intertwined. The choice seems to be yours at this time. But what else bothers you?
The council brought up an entity, something called a starama. Do you know of what it might be? They treasure its guidance almost reverely, and yet there's starting to be some doubt amidst the council that they are hesitant to follow its intuition.
The Astarama is one of the most ancient of elves. Some regard it as the mother elf, the entity by which all elves have been born and breathed into this realm. Many of the older generations still believe of its importance within elven culture, while some of the younger generations see it merely as a an older elf who is well past her prime and something may be a little crazy or um, full of wonder and mystery that is not fit for this age. I'm not sure how much you are aware of elven history and culture, but I could tell you from personal experience that she is very powerful and very knowledgeable, and her guidance is what led me to go get you, actually. Um, she did not come directly to me, but through a vision, I was informed of your arrival and went to go collect you and bring you to Elfrost. I believe in the Astarma and what she pertains to hold with whatever this rad shard may be. I am, while not fully knowing of what it is, I believe in her guidance. She has guided both elvenkind and feykind alike through many past historical events and through many different arcane trials, and having some of that previous history has helped reinforce and helped hold my faith to her guidance and whatever she sees coming. She is old and wise, and although to some of the younger folks may seem disconnected, I assure you that if she foretells something and she sees something coming, it will come to pass.
Valuable knowledge to know. I thank you. In
Hopefully, you will
Well, I
have
do
your own
have.
revelation from her in time.
I hope so as well, given I don't remember how much I told you of my vision before, but has she ever appeared to you alongside another figure? Or has she always been alone when conveying to you in the visions you have received from her in the past?
The previous visions I've had has never been. She's never been with another. She's sometimes shown others along with her visions and her um, her dreams, but in all the visions I've had, she's never been accompanied by another.
I wonder just how much is at play then, considering in my original vision there were two entities that spoke to me. It was one at first
No,
and
no,
then
no.
another
I'm
appeared.
right. I'm thinking as
Yep.
far as like what would you have told
What she
her?
would interpret it as.
Well, what you would have
Yeah.
told her of your visions? Like, would you have mentioned like how much detail would you have gone into the vision? I don't think we ever got to.
I think especially with her, and we basically rushed
Yeah,
through it,
we
I
did.
believe. Um, but
A little impromptu
Ilenia,
flashback.
oh yeah, yep, no worries. In terms of that, I think you, especially given a little bit of his naivete before joining the group, um, and following this vision after the mental state that he was in at the time, after having had the time to think of during the journey down to Lanithir of Lauren, and this being the person that he was told to seek out specifically, he would trust her implicitly off the bat and would have detailed the full vision to her.
Okay.
But specifically her.
Right, right. Um, okay, with that in mind, I'm not familiar with the entities that you're describing. They do not sound like the Starma. Perhaps some other deities that may have some relation to her, some kind of kinship or some other
Alliance.
could be an alliance. Yes, there are many powers in this world, in this realm, and other realms interconnecting.
He does nod and like holds up and looks at his holy symbol for Torm at the moment.
And there are other powers that wish to undo some of the good that's in this world as well. For as much good as been prosperous here in this not mortal plane. I forget what the material
realm.
In this material realm, there are forces opposing. There is undoubtedly, if there is this much foreknowledge from this Dharma about this Radshard, there are certainly entities on the other side who also wish to seek its power. That may be the true threat to this Radshard. It could be
the wrong hands.
It could be a race for the destiny of this world.
Deep sigh, world of the weight on his shoulders. Flashbacks.
Yeah. That's kind of how we built your character. Right.
Half intentionally, half was, I'm going to be the support that just helps people. Oh, God, lore interconnection.
Yeah. There was a lot of that.
Blaze.
I don't know if I'm losing internet connection or if you're losing internet connection. It could be me.
Possibly me.
It's probably me, though.
My internet acted up recently.
My internet's still not stable. Or it hasn't been. I'm not getting your call quality's low, though, on Skype, so I'm not it could just be intermittent. We'll push on.
Hopefully that's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of continuing on about the dream, and is there anything else about the Dharma that you wanted to ask?
Nope, that basically answered that question and confirmed between those two questions, basically being that the Dharma wasn't part of his original vision, and now he's got a little bit of that sense of there are more powers at play than he initially thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then that really weighs on him from being a cleric, utilizing the power gifted from Torm to do the combat, plus this gift from these other entities and his other abilities.
Yep. And then what was the other thing you were going to bring up?
Just the fact that the meeting happened with Nasure right before this. Yeah. I still have a little bit of doubts, but I respect what he conveyed as his intentions and motivations. But given that the rest of the council at the time of discussion regarding the invasion of the rest of the party's minds before the meeting, he reacted as if he knew a little bit about it. He was not as surprised as everyone else was when Julian acclaimed them of invading their minds.
That Nasure fella has never rubbed me the right way. He's very young and brash and works for a lot of political gain and power. It does not surprise me that he seems a little bit more complacent in his position. I understand his fervor and his attention and why he's on the council from the realm that he is, but it still does not seem very befitting of a council such as the one at Elfrost. Nonetheless, it seems rather odd that he would take to some kind of acknowledgement of a mind invasion. It seems like there's maybe something else at play behind the scenes that he may be aware of and is not sharing, or It's very peculiar.
And that reminded me above game. That's basically what I had telepathically mentioned in emphasis. One person on the council knows more than they're letting on. That's what that telepath message was that sparked that.
Okay. I would be wary of him at the very least. He seems to be in for his own gain with the council. I don't know what his long-term plans are, if he plans to someday overtake the council. He is very young, so he has many years before some of the other council members. Before some of their time is up. However, it would not surprise me that with Thalassur being older in age, that Nasure might try to influence another from his clan to join in his efforts. There's been a lot going on over these past few decades that seem to indicate his motives are not as pure as some of the other council members, not as looking out for the greater good of both Elvenkind and of the continent.
Belto will smile at that a little bit. What irony when he was questioning me regarding my companion's motivations.
So yes, the Feywild is such a beautiful place, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's mesmerizing. Almost in a scary sense, but when safe, as long as there's peace.
Yes. Hopefully that peace will remain.
Welcome.
Hopefully this veil will remain as well. Dark will be the days if this veil is ever breached or torn from this reality.
Indeed.
I wish it never. I wish it will not come to that. But if this rad shard is truly as powerful as it seems to be,
the potentials could be catastrophic.
Indeed. However, that is not the way to depart with friends. Is there any help with other skills that you require? Any more training that I could possibly give you before you return to your companions?
Mostly, would you have any thoughts in how to potentially search for more information in the mission should the party continue to seek the rad shard, a potential direction that we could be pointed in? I was pointed in one direction, but I'm just wondering what the options could possibly be.
Well, that all depends. Are you going for the sake of your companions, or are you going for the sake of your own calling?
Mostly my own calling, but
see,
given as they believe that the Radshard would help them in their mostly noble goals, some of which I'm hesitant to agree with, referring to the Vengeance one, but the Vengeance one doesn't seem to be focused on the Rad Shard and more so just about finding the individual that wronged him in his past. Damn it, I just had a good train of thought and lost it. I hate my brain sometimes.
Dang it.
Like I had it, and then where'd the rails go? They're just gone. We're just floating and flying train now. But I think at least I'll stick with this group if they continue to venture in search of at least information on the Rad Shard. They've had some harrowing encounters on the road already as it was, but especially given the conversations yesterday, once we were able to be grouped back up again, a bit more of a companionship is starting to form, I believe.
A companionship will be a strong bond to form, especially if these companions of yours are worthy and true to their cause. It sounds like your quest may be intertwined with theirs.
If not in minimal adjacent.
Very true. But to your question, there are many things to watch out for. I'm sure that you are aware this world is filled with many good things, but also many bad things. It's important to be aware of those bad things and to, as I'm sure you're aware through your faith, help those who are less fortunate and who cannot help themselves. Be true to your path. Be true to your goals and aspirations and your calling. But also be wary where appropriate. It's easy to fall into snares and traps of trust. Always be on your guard. Always be watching out for what could be lurking in the shadows.
And it's a good thing I can see. It's a good thing I can see rather well in the dark, then, so I can keep my eye out and keep those who cannot defend themselves safe.
Sometimes shadows are not visible. Sometimes they can be shadows that cloud the mind, impair judgment.
Or metaphorical.
Be wary. But keep heart, and that you've been called on a quest that not many of us can begin to dream about. As more about this rad shard is unveiled, more people will be trying to find it. Be on your guard and be watchful. Be open to companions, but don't be too easily trusting.
Choose friends wisely.
Indeed. Now, with this altercation with your companions and the council, I'm guessing they are not being given many options as far as what can be done to further their adventure onto the Rat Shard. But I think if they were to help out some of the other research that's going on, maybe prove that they are vested in the good that the elves are trying to do to find this potentially dangerous threat, this ancient power, and make sure that it does not fall into the wrong hands, then maybe that will prove to the council that they're trustworthy and are worthy of an audience and maybe worthy of more information about it.
A dedication to a cause and an honor to uphold the morals.
Indeed.
Morals. I messed it up.
It's all good. There are many other researchers out there. But I suppose if you're looking for one that's not too far away, you can always go to Beatrice, who's out west. Close, somewhat in the swamp, but close to the mountains. She's been studying some rather peculiar arcane events happening between the swamp and the mountains. Perhaps helping her will provide enough motivation for the council to give your friends a second chance.
Very well. I greatly appreciate, respect, and will treasure your wisdom.
And my dear Belto, if you ever have questions or doubts, just remember, You've been given a great gift. There are not many who can say that they have been seen by a deity and been given a gift such as yours.
Indeed, the weight of such value is not lost on me.
While you suffer from loss of your companions, be hopeful that their passing is the start of something that will possibly change the course of history.
Fate has a funny sense of humor. He'll crack a small smile at that. He's still hurting deep down, but the irony and like he understands things happen.
The young elf comes back in and is like, are you both doing all right? You can get more tea. And she turns around and is like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, dear. We are just admiring the portal to the Fey realm. Maybe one day you will get to go there. And he looks over and is like, yeah, I kind of like it here, though. I mean, it's beautiful and all, but I kind of like my home where it is. And she turns around and is like, that's quite understandable, my dear. She looks at you, like, well, I'm sure you'd have a view similar to this back with your companions. But I appreciate your company and look forward to it again.
Thank you for giving me this audience.
If there's anything I can do before you depart, please let me know.
I shall do so. Thank you for your time, and may you have a relaxing evening.
She grows a little sprig, has a couple leaves on it, and hands it to you as a reminder.
Thank you. And he's gonna hold it and put it next to where his holy symbol is.
Very good. As you make your way out, you are in the open courtyard. What do you want to do?
I think at this point, just take a minute to process, but probably head back to the group to continue process and figure out how best to convey things and what to do going forward.
Okay. Roll a intelligence check for me.
Raw int. That's a 4.
You start trying to make your way back, and you think you know the way, but you get lost. After about 20 or 30 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm not sure where I'm going.
I will look for an official / guard to be like, could I perhaps get an escort back to my room? I seem to have lost my way.
And
if there is one.
Where are you staying?
Above game, I don't remember the name. If there was a name of a location,
there wasn't. I'll say that
yeah.
You give a vague description of where you're at. It's like, yes, right this way. And
thank you.
He escorts you back to the area, and you arrive
at least
back
to somewhere unfamiliar. And I'm like, oh hey, now I know.
Yep. And you arrive back in time for dinner with the rest of your companions.
Just staring into the void a little bit, but yeah.
Little flavor in there at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. You finally did it.
Yep, thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop this, and then I will upload it private. So you can go back and take notes.
Potential emotional twist you set up in this, dude. Oh my God. Like, just as soon as you're just like, man, it would be terrible if this thing were to rupture, and I'm just like, Oh, so that's what's happening at level 8.
If I ever release this for the rest of y'all, this is what you have to look forward to. Good luck.
Oh, fuck, you're still recording.